Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to those of you who are joining for the first time. So, we have the full moon upon us again. And as usual, we're going to find out what that means. We're going to get a reading for the collective. There's been a lot of energy going on here, just in general, and that's really what we're after. We're getting that big general reading. And, the moon is something that has impacted me very strongly. And impacted my energy very strongly as long as I can remember. So it's always interesting to see how it impacts us during these readings. So as always, this will be a general reading. It's for all signs. And of course, we know it's not going to resonate with everybody, but of course, if it resonates with you, please don't forget to hit like. Hit the subscribe button so we can stick together and I can continue to read for you. um, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to read for you with the Dark Wood Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify with the Tarot of Dragons here in a moment. So we'll start out by looking at the energetic backdrop for you across this time of the full moon. So remember that kind of starts to happen a little bit before the full moon. So some of this you may already be noticing, and it goes on a little bit beyond the full moon as well. So you may notice it continuing for a little while. Every moon is different, and so we'll see how this one is going to deal the energy for us. So this is again that energetic backdrop that we're after. It's kind of like the energy that we're swimming around in. And so we've got the energetic backdrop of strength. That is a beautiful thing. The strength card, as I am fond of saying, is not something that happens in a vacuum. So the strength card is something that is a result of overcoming some fears. This has to do with overcoming fears, and the strength being more just more powerful, weighing more than the fear does. So that means there's some kind of action going on. We'll see a little bit more when we get into clarify there. Let's see first what sort of energy you're moving toward. So that essential backdrop of that energy of strength tells us that you're going to be it kind of feels almost slow and steady, the kind of feeling that's sitting in the background. But you're moving to a place of a little bit less certainty. Nine of Pentacles here in the reverse, which is less certainty, less of that emotional stability, but not so much just emotional stability as emotional independence. Um, there's also going to be some desire to do something that might otherwise scare you a little bit, might concern you a little bit. So that contributes to the uncertainty, but it also is it's a magical time. It's a magical sort of experience, or the energy that's coming from that is very, I feel a little bit of the springtime in there. I feel a little bit of taking a chance, almost not quite the fool, but still the energy that you're moving toward is an uncertain place to go, but it's a beautiful place, a place of communication, a place of being able to apologize or accept an apology. There's a little bit of that coming through, and all with this backdrop of strength that doesn't really go away even as you start to move into this more uncertain level of energy. So let's see what sticks out the most for you in this time period. And these readings are exciting because they're not specific to the soulmate series. So many of the readings that we have and that we have requested are specific to the soulmate series. This one allows us to look at the big picture and say, okay, here are some of the things that might be impacting you. So if you are one of the people watching the soulmate series, just realize these readings are still important because they kind of give you that broader range, and you might start to see patterns and say, hey, this is something that's happening in more than one place in my life. And so this is the sort of time when you might make such a realization, actually, because what sticks out the most here is your ability to build kind of a new perspective. It's the ability to build that new perspective, not so much the new perspective itself, but the fact that you're able to look at the bad with the good. So the Five of Cups, and we've talked about this one before, but the Five of Cups depicts, in this deck, this rabbit is looking at these cups that are overturned and all the liquid is coming out, and that's indicative of the emotion that's flowing. It's regret, it's sadness, but right behind him there are these two cups that haven't fallen. Those represent potential, possibility, opportunity, something that still could happen. So when we see this in the upright, it is a sign of just sadness, regret, focusing on that sad part. But here in the reverse, it's a little bit more of an ability to turn around and see those other two cups in the background. And it leads to a more well-rounded situation because you don't forget about the sad cups in the foreground. You simply get a more well-rounded view of the big picture. So that's the thing that's sticking out the most. So as you're moving toward this energy, you might be opening up your perspective enough to really be able to do it some justice. So let's see what else is acting upon you at this time. Critical energy that is acting upon you at this time. So this is not necessarily something that's coming from you, might just be something that's impacting you. But it's critical and it is speaking of new perspective. So remember, this is the ability to garner that new perspective. Here's the new perspective itself. There's one that you are in the process of gathering to yourself, but it hasn't quite happened yet. So this is the Hanged Man, and she's hanging here in the upright. She's hanging here in kind of not of her own volition. It's something that happens to you. It's a new perspective that you're given. Someone presents you with this. But in this perspective, from this perspective, it hasn't quite happened yet. And so that's something that's important to understand. Even though you may be in an energy or moving into an energy that allows you to gain that perspective a little bit more thoroughly, I guess. And this is a very wide open sort of feeling. So this also allows you to kind of wide open reach out and get that perspective, but it's not there yet. Still though, coming from this perspective of strength, this is just kind of an exciting thing. Let's take a look into the hidden energies here. And so again, this is what you can't see from where you're currently standing. Oh, there it is. Let's see. So we've got the Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups is about having options. It's about sometimes the options are a little overwhelming and a little confusing, even. So that's something for us to think about. Is as you look at what these options are, don't let them overwhelm you. She's not even able to examine these options because she's too busy fighting off these bats. I don't know if you can see this, but it's the options are all kind of lined up behind her in these cups, and then the bats are over here getting all of her attention. And that's one of the things that you may not quite realize is that there is um, more beyond the distraction. So if you've been receiving some distractions here recently, just realize that there's more for you to look at. And as those distractions clear out, and they will clear out, you're going to be able to take a closer look. You'll know more at that point. So it will cease to be quite so hidden. The thing that you can be doing, what I want to do here is what you can be doing now. To be more prepared for that energy that you're heading for. So you're heading for this energy, remember, that is a little bit it's a little bit uncertain, it's a little bit open, there's a vulnerability to it, but what can you be doing that helps to prepare you as you move into this situation? Looks like we've got it there. And this is the Three of Swords in reverse. So this is about the unbreaking of the heart, the walking away from sadness. There is something really special about the Three of Swords in reverse because it has to do with putting something back together that has been taken apart or that has been broken apart. So that's part of you're gonna want to reanimate something or rebuild something. That's what you're going to want to be doing in order to be more prepared for this situation. So this is healing, but we'll learn a little bit more about it here when we go to clarify. First, let's grab this Tarot of the Dragons here. I want to take a look at the Strength card here that is in your energetic backdrop for the course of this full moon. And so, this is again something you might already be feeling. And that's kind of exciting because the feelings that I get from this Strength card are incredibly promising. So, I just dropped a couple. Nothing that we really want to use though. Um, Here, go ahead and shuffle them back in. Okay, let's see. We've got one, and it is the Temperance card, and it's in reverse. So this is about there being a sense of imbalance along with this strength. You guys have been working on this, whether you've been working through the Soulmate series or working just in general on the general readings. And by the way, for those of you who are not working through the Soulmate situation, the Soulmate series a lot of times carries a lot of messages that just are much broader messages too. So it's just something to think about if you stumble upon one of them, and you kind of get caught in there and you think, but I'm not having a soulmate situation. Why does this resonate? It may resonate because it's just getting to you at the right time. But basically, one of the things that's been coming out has been this constant reminder of the lesson of getting comfortable with a situation where you're not necessarily comfortable. And so this is it. This is that situation where you're not necessarily comfortable, but you're still displaying that strength. So that's really fantastic. This is something where being here on YouTube for a little while has given me the opportunity to watch you build that strength and watch you come into this, to watch you get more comfortable with the uncomfortable situations. That's something that's been a common theme here, and there's definitely been some progress. We've been seeing that too in some of the readings. This one came out sideways. We're going to go ahead and keep it sideways. Because it feels that way. This is the Sire of Cups. So if we look at it here in the upright, what you'll notice about the Sire of Cups is that there's a little bit of a controlling feeling to it. So what it is though, it's controlling how they look to the outside. So here's a person with a fair amount of integrity, a lot of a desire to make things right, the ability to feel love, but also someone who has a tendency to say, okay, that's enough. We're only going to do so much as far as love is concerned. So that's a weakness. It is a response. It's a defense mechanism, but it came out sideways because the way that you're feeling and the way that the circumstances are kind of hitting you, you may ordinarily have a fair amount of that desire to control how you look and how you come across. But maybe you're feeling like you're moving into this place of being a little bit more vulnerable. So you're willing to wear your heart on your sleeve in certain ways. And it's not so much a willing to wear your heart on your sleeve because you're willing to be weak. It's more because you're willing to be strong. One of the reasons that people hold off on showing their emotions is because they don't want to be perceived as weak, or not being perceived as being serious enough, or being, you can't take them seriously. But when you're feeling pretty strong about yourself and about your ability to be who you are and stand on your own 2 feet, that strength starts to come out. You can be a little less concerned. You may start to find yourself being a little less concerned about how you show up, with regard to your emotions. So, just putting that out there, that's a little something. It's like coming into your own. It's becoming less concerned about what people think, but legitimately just less concerned about what people think in the way that you manifest your emotions, and maybe even in the way that you show them. So let's look at this energy that you're moving into. This is that energy of uncertainty, and yet being able to say some things that you need to say, and maybe even receive some messages. So, this is communication overall. It's emotional communication, but it's not necessarily an apology. Part of it came out as an apology, but part of it came out as emotional communication. Just remember though, communication is giving and receiving. And so when you communicate out and you're giving a communication, the person on the other end is also receiving it in some way. Otherwise, it's just a message being sent out. So there's a very strong communication component to this, and it has to do with giving and receiving of that communication. So there's a sense of not wanting to let something go, being a little bit concerned, and it feels like it is appropriately placed next to this sideways Sire of Cups because it feels like maybe you're not completely ready to abandon the safety of making sure that your emotions always look like they're in check. That's something that you're afraid you're gonna look hysterical or like you aren't able to be taken seriously once again. So that's a little bit of something that's a bit of egoistic, just holding on to it. And ego protects us, remember? So it's not necessarily something that is bad. It's something to be pushed away or something to be destroyed so much as, and in a lot of cases, growth will destroy bits of your ego. It will chip them off. It'll make them unnecessary. And then it's your job to say, okay, I no longer need this. But so here's something that hasn't quite given way yet. It's something that isn't sure if it's quite ready to be chipped off. And so it's sideways, and you're working through it from an egoistic perspective, but don't take that in like a wrong way. It's a part of the healing process. Let's see what else wants to come out. With that. Okay, so there's that connection with the divine there. And that's the connection with your intuition. Okay, the connection with your intuition is what's going to help you. Move through what's happening with you here. It's going to help to direct you in this experience of some vulnerability. It's going to help you to understand and work past these feelings of not feeling so secure in yourself because you're not sure if you're ready to let go of this thing that kind of helps keep you safe and helps keep you feeling like you can be taken seriously. It reminds me of that feeling that you maybe uh, people will ultimately at some point if they dye their hair, if they're starting to get some grays, if they dye their hair, they may ultimately feel like they're ready to cut that hair off and have the gray hair, but maybe they're not quite ready to make that transition just yet. So that's kind of what this feels like. Do I want to hold on to the dyed hair, or am I ready to just sit in my strength and be just the way that it's growing out, and so you got to dig into that intuition a little bit sometimes on these decisions to, whether you're facing that or whether that's 20 years off in the future for you. It's the same kind of decision. It's about how you want to be seen, and it's a matter of you'll go through different stages with that and you'll let go of different things. So there's something here that is it's afraid to be let go. Okay, so let's look into this Five of Cups. And this is that piece that sticks out the most. So it sticks out the most that you're going to be in a position to better gain new perspectives. We see over here that this is a great time for that because you've got a new perspective that you're currently working through. But let's see what's going on with this one. Let's see. We've got the Hermit card who's in the reverse, and this is giving us kind of a similar message to what we get here with the Hanged Man in reverse, actually. So, the Hermit in reverse is telling us that you've gone off actively trying to solve this problem, where the Hanged Man is less active. That's more something that is passive, it happens to you. The Hermit, you go off into your thinking cave looking to find some answers, looking to find some solutions, but you haven't found them all. So, definitely lots of good came out of that, but not everything that you were looking for. So you've got a little bit of that additional perspective, the ability to pull in the positive and the negative, but you still got some pieces that you know you're actively looking for. A lot of self trust. So here's that Seven of Swords in reverse that we like to see so much. This is another one of those cards that if I ever see this card in this type of situation, I really do want to see it in reverse because what it tells us is that there's no self deception, there's no self trust. Things are being made right. That's significant. This one, honorable mention, and this one, okay, they're all coming out. They're not honorable mention, they're coming out. Okay, so I'm going to figure out where I got to put all these. So the Hermit, remember, you went into the thinking cave and you didn't have answers to everything that you wanted as it came out, but you did come out with this firmer sense of self trust. Okay. Then we've got justice. This is you setting things right. This self trust automatically is setting some things right for you. And this Six of Wands has to do with it's passion, but it is victory. This is victory after a long battle that is all enabled by this ability that you now have to look at the full picture, both the bad and the good together. Something has clicked in that. This is not an ability that you didn't have before. It is simply something has really clicked there and changed. And so it presents a victory. It presents an opportunity for you to have a new perspective, and you will have a new perspective. Okay, I'm just going to set this over here since apparently we're going to end up with like the whole deck over here that just wants to be here and be part of this message. But there's a new perspective coming for you. You know you're in the middle of it right now. You don't yet have that new perspective. This is significant though. The devil in reverse is the last card that wants to come out here for this. But the devil in reverse is talking about having overcome something that was historically controlling you, historically had some kind of control over you, whether it be an addiction, obsessive thinking, it could be a person who's controlling you. There are so many different forms that this can take. But this devil card is telling us that you are no longer under the thumb of that control. Wow. Okay, so that was a very emotional experience. And that is the thing, of course, that sticks out the most about the timing around this full moon. So let's look now at this hanged man. So remember, this is the critical energy it's a critical energy that is acting upon you at this time, not the only one. You know, this is the energy you're in, the energy of strength. You're moving to this place of being willing to take a little bit of a risk, a little bit of uncertainty, risks in communication, and maybe being something that you have not always been sure that you were ready to grow into, and you may still be working through that. But you've got this new leaf that you've turned over, this ability to get a new perspective that's really going to engender you being victorious and getting that new perspective from a position of self-trust, from a position of continued questing, from a position of no longer having some of the just the controls on you that had historically been there. It's an incredibly victorious place to be, and things are made right. You will be amazed with how quickly these bats start to go away, and you get to start to investigate these options in this energy. So this is an incredibly victorious energy. This Six of Wands almost wants to be the thing that comes out here, but it's all really moving in a very positive direction. It's not necessarily a comfortable one, but it's like you're not going to hurt anything by going there. You're just going to grow. If you're not ready, it's okay. Back off of it a little bit. You don't have to cut off the gray or cut off to the go to the gray. You have the option to do another dye job. Like, don't worry. You can make another round. But it is something that is firmly in your mind, some sort of change you're ready for. You're making an approach to something that you're going to let go of within yourself, and that's that new perspective that we see. This door opens up the path to you getting this new perspective, but we also see that you're not quite there yet with the new perspective. So let's look a little bit more deeply into that. Okay, we have the Two of Cups. There is a sense of partnership that is not being fulfilled. And the thing about this is, I immediately get the sense this is not necessarily a person. So when I see this Two of Cups and the partnership not being fulfilled, I think part of it is with this intuition, with this higher self. So keep in mind, it may be, an element of it may be partnership with that higher self, with with something that is within you that helps you to manifest and move successfully throughout your day. That's part of this new perspective that you're here to gain. We also have the Chariot card, which wants to come in sideways. So, much like what we have up here, it talks a little bit about this uncertainty. It talks a little bit about this confusion. This is not being sure if you want to hit the gas. Basically, when you have the Chariot in the upright, it is you hitting the gas. When you have it In the reverse, it's you digging into the brake, but when you've got it here, it's you're not quite sure which direction you want to go yet. It has everything to do with not quite having that perspective pulled together, which that's okay. You've got a little bit of time to think about it. You've got some pretty glorious things happening over here. Let's look into this Seven of Cups and this energy of what you're not yet able to quite see. So we've got the Eight of Pentacles. As the bats start to fly away there, and as you start to get a little bit farther down this path, this is the important path here. You're going to come to a place of emotional self mastery that's going to help you with this over here. So if you decided to go another round and not quite let go of the thing emotionally that you were moving toward letting go of, it's okay. There's no judgment, there's no concern here. You still have that strength. You can come back through and try it again. That's what that emotional self mastery is going to help you understand. Let's see what else. So in other words, it's not like you have to be in a rush. It's going to be a different future that arrives for you if you take a different path. But it's if you go around again. But it's not nothing. There's no wrong answer. The other thing that comes out here is the Five of Swords. This Five of Swords, we haven't seen as much of this one lately. This is around consternation, but it's also around following battles that, or jumping into battles that don't make a ton of sense, that don't have a lot of return. And what I see here is you not doing that, starting to see that this thing with the bats isn't really paying off for you, and you're going to get to a place where you do something very effective and you end up with the opportunity to examine what's in these cups a little bit more clearly. But by the time you get to that, you've already worked through some of these other pieces, and this is all energy that is kind of happening with you now during the time of the full moon. So, this healing here, what can you be doing on your side? It's just like soaking up the healing that comes from this. There's so much as you're moving into this more vulnerable place that you have opportunities for, and it has everything to do with just allowing yourself to take it in. There's a skittish sense to you right now that is getting in the way of you being able to transform. So it's like you need to be able to let go of a muscle of some kind. It's not a real muscle, it's a psychological muscle, but your ability to let go of that and allow the transformation to occur will be significant in allowing this healing to happen. And boy, do you have the stage set for that. And then you've got an opportunity to enact it, an opportunity to cut it down and go to your gray. I keep using that example, but it's just a really good one for this because it's one of those things that honestly you could just dye it again and let it grow out again, and then you cut it off, and all you lost was like 4 weeks. So, not that I've been through this one a million times. I started going gray aggressively when I was 17. So I've done a lot of dyeing of my hair across those years. And it's a very real decision, especially when you are younger than your average gray headed person and you're sitting there in your 30s and you have so much of it. Or your 40s, or it's just it's always going to be a different type of decision, and it's very much like this one. It's how you think about being perceived, and so it's a matter of what do you want to let go of? What do you maybe want to move into something that's a little bit less comfortable, but allows you to be more vulnerable and a little bit more in touch. But you're ready when you're ready. So, whatever it is that this means for you, it's just something for you to think about as you're moving through this time because there is so much positive and victorious that's also happening for you in this time. So, we have a couple of cards that want to come out here. We've got the Ten of Pentacles. So that's going to be very much in your reality. There's going to be your physical, real happiness in the physical realm is going to ride partially on your ability to find this healing. So not you can't be happy without finding it, but the amount of happiness that you will draw to yourself, an abundance that you will draw to yourself by allowing this healing is going to be not inconsiderable. It's a big deal. Then the other card that comes out here is the Lover's card coming out in reverse. So this sense of feeling like there's something that holds you back from something that you want or something that you would feel would have made you successful. This is maybe something that got away, the one that got away, some concept that got away. This is what you're healing from. It is potentially a sense of abandonment, potentially a sense of betrayal mixed into that, could be mixed in fairly heavily depending on the person and the situation. But this is all about moving forward despite that, moving forward despite the fact that I can't solve this issue from way back in my childhood or from more recently, even in my romantic life or whatever it is. It could be something that's happened with your kids, with a romantic partner, with a parent, anything, a family member, a friend. But it is something that is you're going to get to a place where you're more able to move past that heartbreak, move past the skittishness. And the skittishness will be the sign. When you see yourself starting to kind of backpedal, that's where you're taking the opportunity away from your ability to find that transformation. And it does have a very significant impact on your ability to be happy in the physical realm. So there is something here that you're looking to get past, understand, and be in a position where you're ready to egoistically let something go and be more whole in yourself and with your intuition. It's a victorious place to be. You're going to have a new perspective because you've recently gathered to yourself the ability to have a better new perspective. But that perspective hasn't quite come yet, but be aware it's coming. The best thing you can do is to be open to it and open to the healing that comes with it. So that's the reading for you around this particular full moon. It is, I would say, a beautiful, beautiful energy that you have here. I'm not going to stick an extended on the end of this one, but if this one did resonate with you, again, please do hit that subscribe button because this feels very connected with the rest of the readings that we've had here on this channel. Hit like if you liked it, and I look forward to seeing you again in another reading.